Hi, everybody. Hello. It is, what is it? It's March 20th, 2026. I am Michelle Solis from This Must Be Ink. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Seekonk, Massachusetts. And this is my Friday night Stamp and Sip workshop where the weekend starts early. So we stamp and sip here a little bit. So hopefully everybody brought something to enjoy while you're watching. Welcome, and thanks for joining me. We are tonight going to do a staggered Z-fold card. So I showed it on the Facebook page. It looks like this when it's closed, and then when it opens, it looks like this. So you've got all these panels here, and the measurements are a little futzy for that, but I think it's well worth it. I really thought this card was pretty when I saw it, and I wanted to make it. So I looked up the directions, and I am here to share them with you tonight. So everybody take a sip of whatever you brought, and we'll turn the camera down, and we'll get started. So tonight I'm drinking some ice wine, which is one of my favorites because it's nice and sweet. Okay. There we go. Let's turn the light on. And let's bring this down. And when I do that, you should see that there is a template here. Okay, over here. So the directions for this card and this template will be sent out in an email by Wednesday. I'm trying to get them out a little bit sooner than Wednesday, but it'll definitely be by Wednesday. And so you'll have the instructions and the measurements and everything with this template to create this card in an email. So you can sign up for my email at thismustbeink.com. You just sign up for that, and then you'll receive this email, and you'll have all what you need. Okay, so this was originally, I got this from Allison Stamps, and I don't know what Allison's name is. Her thing just says Allison Stamps, so I'm not sure what her last name is, but she had all the measurements for this little card, which I thought was really cute. And it uses one piece of cardstock and one piece of 6x6 designer series paper, or of course you can cut a 12x12 down to a 6x6. So this card, I think, is perfect for these landscape papers that we get. This, I think this is Thoughtful Journey. This is from way back when, but this is one of the first ones that they put out with landscapes. And so I still have some of that. And then there's Meandering Meadows. I think that's what this one is from. Meandering Meadows that came out with all these different landscape scenes. We're using this one tonight with the blueberry bushel flowers. So pretty. So we're going to use that one tonight. But then even if you don't have, and I think we're getting a new landscape designer series paper in the new catalog coming up. Oh, and there's also this one. I think this one's current, the Splendid Autumn. This is a beautiful set of paper. I have barely used this one. This is all autumn scenes. So this would be a really pretty card for like Thanksgiving as well, I think. Yeah. Anyway, if you don't have any of those landscape, hi Jean, if you don't have any of those landscape papers, you might have this beautiful gallery paper. Let me show you this. So this paper also had some beautiful scenes. These were like those paintings, that paper pack with the paintings. So that one. There's this one with the house. I did a card with that one. So just as pretty. And there's so there's a bunch of different scenes. Here's that one with the boats, this little mountain view. You could even use like this one would be cool. I'm going to try that one, I think. That's a nice one. This one. I mean, any of these really would work with this card. I wonder how this one would look. I'm going to have to try some more. All right. So anyway, that's my thought on the paper. Hopefully you have something, but I did also make one with like a regular piece of DSP that I'll show you later. Okay. So this is the card that we're going to make. So by my template over here, you're going to see, hopefully you're going to be able to see, hi Kathy, that the card base is a regular card base 8.5 by 5.5. So I have my paper cut 8.5 by 5.5. We're going to score this because it's going to be a Z fold. So we're going to score this at 4 1/4 and 2 1/8. So that's the first thing we'll do. I've cut it already. So we're going to 4 1/4. We're going to score. And then 2 1/8. I have been having a hard time measuring this week, so hopefully I've gotten this right. All right, so at your middle score line, you're going to score that right in. You're going to fold that right in half. And then at the 2 1/8 score line, you're going to fold back. So you're creating a Z fold. So you're going to burnish those folds really well. Okay, so that's going to be your card base. Super simple. All right, now we're going to want to make all these panels. So that's where this template comes in. So you can see here, maybe, that, let me see if I can move it down a smidge. The mats are on this side and the DSP is on this side. So the largest mat that you need is 4 1/8 inch wide. This is width. Wait. Yes, I guess it's width and then this is going to be height. Okay. So I think that's the easiest way to explain it. So I need a piece that's 4 1/8 inch wide. So I'm going to cut this one down to 4 1/8. As I said, I've been having trouble with measurements this week, so just double checking. 4 1/8. Okay, so now we've got it at 4 1/8. Now we're going to turn it and we're going to cut these different heights. So the first one is 1 1/16. Hi, Maria. So we're going to go to 1 1/16. So you guys know what an 1/8 is. There's the 1 inch score. There's the 1 inch mark on your trimmer right here. And then you're going to have a tiny little line and a little bit larger line. That first tiny little line, that is a 1/16. Okay, so we're going to go 1 1/16 for the first one. And that's going to go here. And yes, it's going to be wider. Okay, just leave it. Then your next one is 1 1/8. So you'll do 1 1/8. Then the next one is 1 1/8. Same thing. And then the next one again is 1 1/8. So it would have been nice if they were all the same size, but when you're trying to get them all to fit on that panel, you need to make a little bit of an adjustment. That's why the top one and the bottom one are at 1 1/16. So this last one is 1 1/16 again. Okay, so those are all your mats, okay? Now, you're going to make them the proper length. So this one should be exactly right. This should be 4 1/8 by 1 1/16. This one needs to be a little bit shorter, so it's going to be 3 3/4. So we're going to cut this one down to 3 3/4. Then the next one is going to be 3 1/4. So we're going to cut that down. Three and 1/4. And then the next one will be 2 3/4. And then the last one will be 2 1/4. Okay, so those are your mats, and you can see how when you get these lined up, they're going to create that staggered front. Okay, now we're going to do our designer series paper. So the designer series paper, hi Julie, is going to start out at 6 by 6. We want it to go down to 4 inches wide by 6 inches tall. So we're going to cut off the 2 inches over here, and that is where you get this panel from. And then you're going to use the other side for your panels here. Okay, so we're going to cut this off at 2 inches. So I'm going to turn it. Well, actually, let's leave it, not to confuse anybody. We'll just go 4 inches. And then we'll reserve this 2-inch panel to the side because we're going to use that. Now we're going to cut this down to fit on your mats. Okay, so the first one is 4 inches by 7/8 of an inch. And that's the top. Sorry, almost confused myself. 7/8 of an inch. Then the next one is 3 5/8 by 1 inch. So we want 1 inch piece. And then another inch piece. For here. And then another 1 inch piece for here. And then the last one again is going to be 7/8 of an inch. Okay, so we're going like that. All right, so we're going to just hang on to that little piece. We might be able to use it somewhere. All right, so now we just have to cut these again to the proper length. So the first one is 3 5/8. So we'll get 3 5/8. And we're going to make sure that when we're cutting these down, we're cutting the same edge, right? Because you want these all to line up like this. So when you cut this to 3 5/8, you're going to cut this side of it. So 3 5/8. The next one will be 3 1/8. The next one will be 2 5/8. And then the last one will be 2 1/8. Okay, I think this is the most complicated card I've made in a long time. But once you have this template and you've got your measurements, it works out perfectly. Okay. It's not hard. It's just a lot of cutting. All right, so now what we're going to do is just take our DSP and we're going to put it onto our coordinating mats. That was a long comment, Julie. I had to read that. Yes, I know. I have a lot of this landscape paperwork as well. And yeah, I never know what to do with it. I mean, I have made cards. This blue. I have made cards specifically, you know, for landscape paper, but it's been a while. All right, and I thought this was a neat one. I cannot get my glue to work tonight. Hang on. It's got a big, now I've got a blob. Look, and now it's just coming out all over the place. Oh my goodness. All right, so we are going to get the, can you see my glue? It's just going all by itself. Get this onto the mat. It's like a volcano. Look what's happening. All right, I may have to get a new glue. I'll put this guy aside. He's a hazard. Hang on, let me find another glue. I think they're all, it's like my house is pressurized tonight. They're all erupting. Okay, so the next one. Oh my goodness. I think they have a little bubble in them or something. Okay. I'll try to get this on there without getting glue everywhere. And then the third one. I love this blueberry bushel color. I haven't used it for a while. But this paper is so pretty with those blue flowers. All right, so once we get those matted, we can start to build our card. All right. Okay, so then you're going to bring your card base back in, and then we have to line up these on this side, and we've got to get our other piece to line up with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these panels on first, then I'm going to line up my white paper that we're going to mount the designer series paper on. So this piece in here is 5 1/4, and I cut this piece so that it started at the top. So when I do this piece, I'm going to want to cut off the bottom here, so this whole pattern will line up. So this is going to be 5 1/4. So we'll just cut a little piece off the bottom. We'll put this onto our white piece that's going to go inside. Right to the very outer edge here. Get that lined up there. Okay, so let's get our panels attached. Super, super simple. All you're going to do is attach one on top of the other. So you're going to start at the bottom. And what I did was I put, let's lay it this way. Let's lay it this way. Sorry. I put glue onto the panel because you want to make sure that you're not going past this score line. So you put your glue right on the panel, and then you're going to take your first little piece and you're going to line it up at the bottom. So you want it to be flush with the bottom and the side of your card. Okay. And then I just build on top of that. So I'm going to put some glue here and get my next panel. And we just want to lay that right next to the other one. Do not leave any space. And then you want to get it right to the edge. That's the toughest part without getting your head right on top of it. Okay, just line that one up. And then the next one. Right to the edge, and then right next to the one on the bottom, and then a little more glue here. Does make it a little difficult to see if it's lined up because it's the same color as the cardstock, card base. You could use a contrasting color if you like. It's your card. You can make it any color you want. And then we'll just get this last one right there. Okay. Now I have not made one that came out exactly perfect. I'm just a tiny little bit hanging over. And if that bothers you, just trim it off. But I just am leaving it just like that. Okay, so the trickiest part is getting this lined up because we want this when it closes, we want the DSP to line up here, right? When you open this, you're not going to really notice if that's lined up at the top, but when it's closed, you want these two pieces of designer series paper to meet down here. So that's the tricky part. We're just going to get some glue on the back. And then I'm just going to have to kind of eyeball it. I do like the liquid glue for this because I can move it around a little bit and slide it down just a smidge so that it lines up at the bottom. Okay, so there is my card. And so you've got that continuous pattern across your card. All right, so we just need a sentiment. What did I do? Here we go. I was going to use the January product of the month, the Fabulous Sayings, and just put "You're on My Mind" for the front. Okay. And then on this last one that I did, I cut it out. I did a little bit of fussy cutting, which I think would look nice on this one too. So I'm going to do that. And it just occurred to me that I used ribbon, and I don't think I have a blueberry bushel ribbon. No, we just will forego the ribbon for tonight. And I'm just kind of making up my own design here. Oops. Okay. You're on my mind. You just need some dimensionals. Of course, you can decorate this with a die cut if you'd like. I'm about to buy some label dies. We'll see if I actually use them. But there's a beautiful set of label dies in the new catalog that's coming up. So I thought, all right, I'm going to do it. There we go. So I think that's really pretty and a nice way to use your 6x6 landscape design papers. So there's the original and the one we did tonight. Here's the one I showed you with the paper from the beautiful gallery set of papers, which works really well with this design as well. And then this last one I did with paper from, I think it's Beach Boardwalk paper. So you don't have to have a landscape. You can use something that's just got an overall pattern and do the same thing. Just make sure that when you're cutting it, that you're keeping it, right side up. This was tricky paper because when you have just these little strips, I couldn't remember if they went this way or this way. So just try to keep your pattern together. And then instead of lining up the DSP here, I just used a full insert and I just stamped some palm trees inside for that one. So you don't have to use the DSP inside. You can do some stamping. All right. Okay, so that's it for me tonight. That went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. I always get nervous, especially when I am having to measure a lot, because I've been having one of those weeks where I just can't cut things in the right order and the right size. Okay, so here's the cards. Once again, let me show you the template. So here's the template. And you guys can screenshot that if you want to play with it tonight. But as I said, I will send that out in my next email. So just go to thismustbeink.com and sign up for my email. And then I will send you the instructions and all the measurements. Hi, Margaret. Thanks for jumping in there. All right, let me see. What am I doing? I'm trying to turn this back around. There we go. All right, let me turn this light off because my lights are not my friends in this office. Okay. All right, that's it for me tonight. You guys have a great weekend. I am doing a workshop tomorrow in the barn. We're doing a card buffet. So I've got 8 cards that they got to choose from and decide which ones they want to do. So I've got almost all of that cut. I have one more card that I have to cut paper for. And then it's my father-in-law's birthday on Sunday. So we're going to Connecticut to celebrate his birthday. I think he's, say, 93. No, I've lost track. Anyway, birthday for him. All right. So everybody have a great weekend and stay crafty, my friends.